All right, everybody. So the next step is we're going to be taking a look and see how do we make it so that we can actually place our towers. Once you have the interface built, we're going to teach the gun button how to place a gun. But mostly we're just going to teach the tower how to have sort of two different modes. There's the mode where it's following the mouse, and then the mode where it's just sitting there and doing its regular activity. Okay, so we're going to take a look. I guess first of all, just mention that you should remove. There was a test tower that we built. I'm not exactly sure where we put it because I've deleted it now. But there was some sort of test tower we made that was already in the game as soon as we started, so get rid of that. Next, we are going to look at the tower class and see what changes we've made. So the exciting thing is that we now have sort of these two modes. It's like the mode framework, but for just the tower itself. Each tower will have sort of a mode variable, and then I have this final int for placing and placed. These are kind of my two modes. Placing means we're in the process of selecting a location, so I'll want that I'll want the tower to be following the mouse. Placed means we've locked in our location. It shouldn't be moving anymore, and so we can set the mode to placed in order to make it stay still. I guess one thing I've done is in the constructor, I have now, when I create a tower, I set the mode to placing. So when we make a tower, that's its default mode, right? We are clicking and creating that tower, and then it needs to follow. So that's the default mode when the constructor constructs it. So now this mode comes into play in our show function. I'll show you my show function. Let's just take a look without this for a second. So if you take a look here, basically the only difference between placed and placing mode, and I wonder if this is this won't get confused with the larger mode variable. It'll default to this, but I am wondering if that's maybe not the best name in hindsight. So if it doesn't seem to make a big difference, but if you would like, maybe we'll change this name from mode to something that doesn't conflict. We can just rename. I'll put it as tower mode, just to make sure we don't have any conflicts. There we go, and now it's changed it everywhere. So tower mode, if it's placed, it just draws the square at its XY coordinates. But if it's in placing mode, it draws the square at the mouse's coordinates. So that's pretty straightforward. The other thing we want to do is add in an if statement to say, hey, if we click the mouse, let's set the mode to placed, so it locks it in, and we'll also set its X and Y coordinates to the mouse's coordinates. So that's how you get it to, like when you click for the second time, to lock it into place. So that's pretty much it to make the build mode. It seems like it should have been harder, but it wasn't. It was pretty straightforward. I didn't change the act function. Oh, I did change the act function though. Another thing I noticed was I had it set so that if cooldown equals threshold, so you probably had it like this. However, it's possible for towers. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I was noticing some issues that can arise if a tower is acting and it's not shooting. Then it might actually, the cooldown might go over threshold. So I just made this change if cooldown is greater or equal to threshold. Just in case for whatever reason cooldown exceeds threshold, then we can fix it that way. Okay, so just a little additional change. Okay, so that means my tower is ready to be placed. How does my button work? So that's over in the build mode. So in build mode, I have, yeah, this is all I do. Check it out, so good. If I click the buy gun tower button, that's the name of the button I made, I add a new tower, and like some of these numbers are kind of useless now. Like X and Y, who cares where we're putting it? It's going to follow the mouse anyways. So I just choose 0, 0. This is the cooldown, this is the threshold. So, whatever numbers you want to apply to the tower are good there. And once you add it to the list, because in build mode we are animating things, then that's over in play, I suppose. Then this while loop will start running, and it will start making that tower behave. It's not going to be acting because mobs.size is 0, but it will be showing. And because it's in placing mode, it'll follow the mouse. And when we click, it'll go to placed mode. It'll just show where it is.